Hello trader, welcome to another weekly Forex forecast for the upcoming week from 10th to 14th of March 2025. As past week was NFP week, we have seen that there is quite a few dramatic movement during the data, and in fact the data has come out to be very dramatic. There is a huge gap with the forecast as well as the actual release, and therefore we have seen a clear reflection of that data in the market in DXY, Euro Dollar, AUDUSD, GBPUSD, Dollar CAD, XAUUSD, Dollar Yen, as well as GBPJPY, that we will be looking to see what kind of trading opportunity we may have throughout the week for those instruments. This will be a complete multi-time frame analysis to see where we can find entry opportunity. Now during those analysis, traders, make sure that you stick till the end to see how we can trade. And before I begin this weekly Forex forecast, make sure you give a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't done yet. So without further delay, let's get started this week's weekly Forex forecast. Okay traders, so let's first begin with DXY, and then also we will be looking at all the USD pairs including XAUUSD as well as EN pairs. So starting with DXY to see what kind of trading opportunity we might have this week, looking at first of all highest time frame, looking at the monthly chart to see overall picture in this market. Now this is the monthly price action on DXY, and what we can see that with this monthly bearish candle followed by this current monthly candle is a strong bearish move from this resistance line, and with that bearish candlestick pattern expecting DXY to drop down further. As we can see, the market failed to create a higher high, started to drop again, and as with that drop, what I think that DXY might ultimately drop back again to the monthly support level. Therefore, after any pullback, we can expect DXY to remain bearish. If we look at the weekly chart to see how the market is evolving, we can see that from the weekly perspective, this is the weekly channel that we have seen, and from that zone there has been significant breakdown this week on DXY. Currently, the market is approaching another important liquidity zone. As we can see that in the past, there has been a breakout from that zone with this strong bullish engulfer, and the market is approaching that level where there is a high liquidity. We could see that now DXY expecting after initial pullback, the market to drop again to the support level or even breaking further below to this order block. Therefore, this week as well, we can expect DXY to remain bearish after initial pullback. If we look at the daily chart, we can see that there's a daily strong impulse here, all those red candles here. Therefore, we can expect now an initial pullback and then continuation towards the downside. And we have seen back-to-back two important daily doji, both of them red. That means that there is a little bit of slowdown in that move here, and what I think that this week we might see that pullback, and breaking this daily high could give us selling opportunity here, as it is a very strongly falling market. The market is approaching that liquidity zone. Any pullback is expected for another drop here on DXY. If we look at the intraday perspective here, we can see that trend is very aggressive. The market is trending below 10 EMA for an extended period of time. With this 10 and 20 EMA crossover, we can see the price is trading below that level, and there has not been any retest of this any of these two EMA. Therefore, we can see the trend is little exhausted. We could see initially a bounce retest of any of these 10 and 20 EMA, and then continuation to the downside can be the wave for this upcoming week on DXY. So based on that, we can look for trading opportunity in DXY as well as on all of the USD pairs, starting with again on euro dollar to see how the market might be evolving. Looking at the monthly chart on euro dollar, we can see that from the monthly, this is the monthly price action, which there has been significant bounce. And as this market has got a strong bounce to the upside, we could see the price ultimately breaking to the upside to retest this monthly resistance, therefore expecting continuation to the upside on the monthly for long-term picture on euro dollar. If we look at the weekly perspective here, we can see that there is a very strong bullish engulfer on the weekly perspective, and that as it is a very strongly bull market, we can expect a continuation to the upside from the weekly to create a new higher high. Therefore, from the weekly as well, we can expect a bullish continuation pattern here. If we look at the daily chart on euro dollar, we can see that from the daily perspective, this is the daily impulse here, a very strong bounce followed by narrow doji formation. And last day of trading week, we saw that this is the NFP candle on the daily. There has been significant bounce here. Now at the same time, there is a long wick at the top that might lead that euro dollar for the market to grab liquidity to retest this support and then potentially continue to the upside to create a new higher high. So if we look at the intraday perspective, we can see that there was a 10 and 20 MA crossover, and this is a strongly bull market creating series of higher high and higher low followed by a consolidation pattern here. Now as the market failed to create a new higher high here, we saw that a couple of sessions of pullback here, but I think that the market may drop again to that support level for deeper liquidity grab, and this is the zone that we could see that euro dollar retesting, potentially grabbing more liquidity to bounce back up to continue to the upside to create a new higher high. This could be the zone that we can look for potential entry opportunity this week on euro dollar. Now let's look at AUDUSD. Let's see what kind of trading opportunity we have. Looking at the monthly chart on AUDUSD, we can see that from the monthly, this is also currently turning to a bull market. There has been significant drop on the monthly perspective on AUDUSD to the support level, followed by after the previous monthly long week candle. This month, we can see that the market from this support level has got a strong bounce, and as this is just beginning of the month yet, we see that there is a significant bullish momentum, and we could see long-term picture AUDUSD may continue to rise again to create a new higher high. If we look at the weekly perspective on AUDUSD, we can see that there is a red candle followed by a green reaction to the upside. Still the market is maintaining series of higher low here. As the candle closed with a long wick at the top, we could see initial pullback and then potential continuation to the upside. Now if we look at the daily chart on AUDUSD, we can see that from the daily there was a daily drop here to that support level followed by an impulse to the upside, and currently the market again dropping back below that level here to that support level. Therefore, what we could see on AUDUSD, the market initially to drop to that support and then potentially continuing to the upside to create a new higher high. If we look at the 4-hour perspective on AUDUSD, we can see that in this lower time frame there has been a big move here on AUDUSD, followed by the candle was closing with long wick. Therefore, we could see that potentially further downside here initially, and with that initial strengthening on DXY, you could see that AUDUSD becoming weaker, and this could be the zone that we could see AUDUSD potentially moving back up to the upside. This could be the wave for this upcoming week on AUDUSD. Now let's look at British Pound US Dollar to see what kind of trading opportunity we might have. Looking at monthly on GBPUSD, what we can see that on British Pound US Dollar, this is the move on GBPUSD, pretty strong drop, followed by we can see that a bullish impulse. Now previous monthly candle in fact on GBPUSD is so far strong bullish price action, expecting initial pullback and then continuation to the upside to create a new higher high. If we look at the weekly chart on GBPUSD, what we can see, this is the bullish engulfer on British Pound US Dollar, pretty strong bullish move, and as this market is approaching this liquidity zone here, which is a significant level, we could see that after initial pullback, potential trend continuation here to create a new higher high or to break this high to this liquidity zone. If we look at the daily chart on GBPUSD, we can see that from this daily perspective, this is the daily impulse here on GBPUSD, followed by narrow red candle. Now, what we saw the last day of trading week, which is the NFP candle, the market failed to create a stronger momentum. Instead, we saw a daily candle that has a long wick at the top as well. Therefore, we could see now initial further downside here to break any of this low before it potentially bounce back up to create a new higher high. So looking at the 4-hour perspective on GBPUSD, what we can see that after this 10 and 20 EMA crossover, the market didn't retest this zone here. We have seen last 2 sessions narrow doji formation on GBPUSD that might lead that price to drop again back below any of this support level. And from that zone, as this is a strongly bull market, we still can expect potential bullish continuation after liquidity grab, expecting GBPUSD to continue to rise to create a new higher high. Now let's look at dollar CAD. Let's see what kind of trading opportunity you have. Looking at the monthly chart on dollar CAD, we can see that from the monthly like the DXY, dollar CAD also showing bearish move. What we can expect for this market here to retest and then to potentially return again to the downside to create a new lower low. If we look at the weekly chart on dollar CAD, we can see that from the weekly perspective, this is the weekly significant drop followed by this pullback. Past weeks candlestick pattern on dollar CAD, we can see that a long wick doji formation, expecting a retest and then continuation to the downside to create a new lower low. If we look at the daily chart on dollar CAD, we can see that from the daily perspective, this is the daily impulse here, followed by this pullback. And what we can expect on dollar CAD for the market to potentially, what I think that to bounce back up to that zone where there is a high liquidity and then to continue to drop again to create a new lower low. If we look at the 4-hour chart on dollar CAD, we can see that in this lower time frame, the market managed to bounce to the liquidity zone, expecting on dollar CAD to retest, grab liquidity, and then potentially to continue to drop to create a new lower low. Now let's look at XAUUSD. Let's see what kind of trading opportunity we might have this week. This is currently trending aggressively. Now we can see that here on monthly perspective on XAUUSD, there was a gap open in the beginning of the month, and with that gap open, the price initially bounced. Now at this point, what we have seen that the market still couldn't manage to break this monthly high. So far in the first 2 weeks, we saw that there is a significant bullish move. But I think that now we might see deeper pullback before it bounce back up, as it requires stronger liquidity to break any of this important resistance line. If we look at the weekly perspective, here we can see that there is a weekly strong impulse here. This is a very strong impulse on the weekly, followed by a rejection from the top, which is in fact was a pullback. And as a result, we saw that there was a previous week, this is the NFP candle, has formed an inside bar. That inside bar, we can see that has close to it long wick on both sides. There was a gap open with a long wick at the top. What I think that this week we might see XAUUSD to potentially grab more liquidity to break below any of this support level before it bounce back up, or we might see this week as well the price might be creating. So therefore this week we could see after initial pullback, the price may continue to drop again to the support level, breaking any of this important support to create a new higher high, as there is a high liquidity in that area. If we look at the daily chart on XAUUSD, we can see that from the daily perspective, this is the daily strong impulsive move here on XAUUSD. Here is an impulse here followed by this pullback, and you can see another impulse followed by pullback. And what we have seen that from the daily time frame, there was a break of structure followed by another bounce here, followed by back-to-back 3 days of doji formation. What I think here, last day of trading week, we saw that there was a strong liquidity candle formation. This daily candle has crossed that high and closed as a doji formation. What I think that now the price might potentially grab more liquidity from this zone where there is an important support level. What I think that this week we may see that DXY potentially remaining bearish in the beginning of the week as the price to fail to create a new higher high, and we saw that this resistance lines is quite significant. There is a daily doji here. The market formed the doji and dropped back to that support. We see the market has bounced back up and penetrating that resistance line, getting rejected from that zone. Therefore, we could see the market to drop again to any of this support to gain momentum to break that high. So therefore, on the lower time frame, we could see potentially bearish price action for this upcoming week. Now, from the 4-hour time frame here, what we see that there was a gap open, and that gap open, if we closely look at, we can see there is an imbalance still here. This is the couple of pips. Still the market didn't retest this gap, almost 5 to 6 pips, which is very smaller gap and imbalance, but still the market don't like to leave an imbalance. Therefore, what I think that on XAUUSD, as the market is failing here to create a new higher high, we could see the price slowly breaking below that level, either retesting this gap or breaking below further, and potentially we could see that a break to the upside. Therefore, this could be the wave for this upcoming week on XAUUSD, initially to drop or even to remain in that zone before it potentially trend to the upside. Therefore, the bias on XAUUSD to remain bearish for the upcoming week. As soon as we will find suitable entry along this area for this potential drop, we will be looking for selling opportunity on XAUUSD. Now let's see dollar yen. Let's see what kind of trading opportunity we have. Looking at the monthly chart on dollar yen, we can see that from the monthly perspective here, this is the monthly price action on dollar yen. And what we see that this is the monthly drop after this monthly doji. There is a monthly bearish engulfer followed by another monthly bearish candle here. And with that monthly drop, what we can see that dollar yen is still dropping down to that support level, and we could see that potential continuation to the downside as this market is still bearish. If we look at the weekly chart on dollar yen, we can see that from the weekly perspective, the market has crossed this high, grabbed the liquidity from the weekly, form a strong bearish engulfer. There's a long wick, a big drop, long wick, big drop, long wick, big drop, expecting to continue to that pattern after initial pullback, expecting dollar yen to drop down to create a new lower low. If we look at the daily chart on dollar yen, we can see that from the daily perspective, this is the daily drop here, followed by a daily doji formation. And with the daily doji, this is an important level of resistance here. We saw that there is a daily doji in this strongly falling market, expecting for the market to break that high and then to continue to create a new lower low. If we look at the 4-hour perspective on dollar yen, we can see that in this lower time frame, this market is bearish. From here, this is a significant drop followed by this pullback to the upside, and we can see the market is potentially trending, creating lower low and lower high. So if we see the market initially bouncing further, grabbing liquidity, giving us selling opportunity, we'll be looking for selling on dollar yen as we are still expecting DXY to remain bearish. Now let's look at GBPJPY. Let's see what kind of trading opportunity we have. Looking at the monthly chart on GBPJPY, we can see that from the monthly perspective on GJ, we can see the price so far from this support level has made significant bounce to the upside on GJ as expected in our previous weekly forex forecast as well. Now what we see that the market is in a pullback. As it is on a pullback on the lower time frame, we could see that initial drop before it bounced back up. If we look at the weekly chart on GBPJPY, what we can see that from the weekly perspective, this is the weekly long week on both sides, and as this market initially has got this bounce here from the weekly, expecting a pullback and then trend continuation to the upside to create a new higher high from the weekly perspective. If we look at the daily chart on GJ, what we can see that from the daily perspective, this is the daily impulse here with a very strong momentum, followed by this pullback on the daily. And last day of trading week, we saw that there is a significant rejection from this support level. And what we can expect here after an initial pullback, GJ to continue to rise to create a new higher high. If we look at the 4-hour perspective on GBPJPY, what we can see the market is respecting this support level here on GJ, and also respecting this resistance. Therefore, what I think that after an initial pullback, GJ to continue to trend to the upside to create a new higher high. So therefore, in that area on GBPJPY, as soon as we can see the price has grabbed liquidity, we will be looking for going long with a high probability trade setup. Traders, I hope that you enjoyed this weekly forex forecast. You found value in it. If you enjoy, make sure you give a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't done yet. Thank you, and I'll see you soon in my next analysis.